Colorado. The gentleman from Kansas has done tremendous work on getting this country back economically and what he's doing to create jobs. And I yield to the gentleman from Kansas.
Well, I appreciate the gentleman from Colorado for yielding your time. And I was listening to the comments from the gentleman from Illinois discussing the unemployment rate being over 8% now for some time. In fact, it's been over 8% for 32 months, which is the longest period of unemployment this high since the Great Depression. It means the things we're doing in Washington, D.C., frankly, haven't been working. And so it's time to start pushing the types of bills that the House has been pushing this year to try to get this economy back on track. And I'm happy to join my colleagues tonight. I'm also happy to be a strong supporter of the Forgotten 15 and the new 7 bills. Dozens of bills are passing the House throughout this session that will help the economy recover, help small businesses create jobs. Now, Americans are frustrated with what they see going on in Congress, what they see going on in Washington, D.C., and there's a reason. Because they see the policies that have failed in this town over the past few years, and they don't believe that Washington can function and they can do things to help the economy recover. And that's because we've been doing all the wrong things, whether it was the bailouts, stimulus bills, cash for clunkers, the health care takeover, cap and trade, card check. You couldn't think of a more anti-business set of legislation that this Congress passed over the last few years than those bills. And what they did is they've held down the recovery and they've stopped small business owners, they've stopped entrepreneurs from growing and creating jobs. I mean, frankly, we know that jobs are not going to be created in Washington, D.C. They're going to be created back home in places like Illinois and in Colorado and in Kansas and in Alabama and yes, even Wisconsin, all across the country, by innovators and job creators and entrepreneurs, the people that build the country and that create the jobs. They're not going to come from big Washington programs, and that's what has caused the problems in this country. These big Washington bailouts, run up national debt, all of it has not worked. And so it's time we change course. It's time we start pushing legislation that will promote small businesses, that will promote the free enterprise system. And frankly, these things are common sense. The American people, they want Congress to pass common sense legislation. The point about these common sense bills that the House is pushing, these pro-business, pro-job creating bills that the House has been pushing and sending over to the Senate, is that they focus on the very things that built this country in the first place. This nation was not built because we had the highest tax rates in the world, because we had more regulations than any country in the world, because we had national debt in the trillions. That's not what built this country. It was the hard work and the determination, the sweat equity of the American people who had no guarantees, who built this country brick by brick. And the common sense things that Congress doesn't do, that they've been doing going the wrong way for years. Look, tax increases don't create jobs. Borrowing and spending doesn't create wealth. Doesn't create jobs. Regulations don't create jobs. And so every day in Washington, we're putting more barriers in the way of these small business owners that we want to have create jobs, and it's making things worse. In fact, just looking at the regulations that are coming out every week out of Washington, it's unbelievable. This is just a stack of the regulations that have come out just this week in Washington, D.C. Monday, new set of regulations. Tuesday, new set of regulations. Wednesday, new set of regulations. That one was pretty thick there. Thursday, another set of regulations. Just this week, these regulations, I mean, they just don't stop. It just keeps coming and coming and hitting our small business owners and helping and stopping the economy from recovering. Let me just give you an example. On Wednesday, what these regulations have, on Wednesday alone, 188 pages of new regulations dealing with the healthcare takeover. Is that what the economy needs? Is that what you hear from your small business owners at home? Is that what Americans are crying out for? 188 new pages of regulations dealing with health care? It's got to stop. And yes, to the President, we can wait on having new regulations. We can wait on the President's big tax increases. We can wait on this stuff. We don't need 188 new pages of Obamacare regulations. We don't need this new stack of regulations this week. It's not helping the economy recover. It's making it more difficult, and that's why I'm proud to stand with my colleagues today on the House floor and fight for the American people and fight for the prosperity of this country that we all believe in. And we know we can restore it, but we've got to stop doing the stuff in Washington that's making it harder to recover.
I have a question for the gentleman, if he would entertain it. You're talking about what you're holding in your hand. That is this week. That's just 1 week, 1 day of regulations?
These are the regulations that have come out since Monday. So you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the regulations. These didn't create jobs. These made it harder on the economy every day. In fact, I think there's been over 65,000 new pages of regulations coming out of Washington, D.C. And frankly, the gentleman from Colorado, people at home, they hear us talking about the regulations, but they may not always see and understand what Washington's actually doing. This is what we're doing to the job creators. This is what we're doing to the entrepreneurs of this country. We are strangling them, and we're these regulations are making what was once the most prosperous nation in the world, that was a beacon of hope from around the world, that we all still believe in. It's trying to strangle that, and we've got to stop it.
Well, I know I thank the gentleman from Kansas, and one of the most common things I hear at town meetings, the